Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. Following a sold-out run in Paris, the new Broadway-bound musical An American in Paris, which is based on the glorious MGM musical, will open at the Palace Theatre on April 12th. It features a score by George and Ira Gershwin and a book by Craig Lucas, and is directed and choreographed by Christopher Wheeldon. And we dropped by the rehearsal studio to meet the company. That's where we get into this beautiful cast you put together, the best of a theater and the best of a dance world. That must have been so exciting casting. Your leads from the dance world are over the moon making their Broadway debuts.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It wasn't easy, actually. It was a very tough audition process because I felt that it was important, if we were going to be portraying real ballet dancers within our story, that it needed to be on a world-class level. So then the challenge of finding the triple threat. I call Leanne a quadruple threat because she's a singer, dancer, actor, but she also has to dance on point. So there you go, quadruple threat. And so finding that was challenging, and took some sort of perhaps some unorthodox ways of looking, within ballet companies, and also holding open auditions, going through the usual route.
And you're a leading man.
Yes, well, Robbie I've known and loved for years. I've seen him grow up through the School of American Ballet, and I'm just so excited for this opportunity for him. And he was always a sponge in the studio working on ballets up at New York City Ballet, but I think the way that he's just grown as an actor and grown as a singer over the short year that we've been working with him, it's pretty remarkable.
What's been the best part of the experience so far with working on this musical for you?
I'm going to tell you the most emotional experience was we had a devastating moment the day of the dress rehearsal, which was a full invited dress rehearsal in Paris. It's their tradition to have a full house. And the first time we were going to run the show was that morning. And 30 seconds into the show, a huge piece of scenery snapped in half and fell on the stage. Thank goodness no one was on stage. And so we didn't run the show. We brought the curtain in. They had to fix everything, and so we had the orchestra sitting in the pit. So I said, "Okay, guys, let's just sit in the front of house and let's just sing the songs with the band, and let's just read the show." And we did, and there was this incredible coming together. And that night, the rehearsal was flawless, and the audience went nuts for them. And I think we all realized, okay, we've got a show.
How excited are you? An American in Paris.
I'm so excited. I'm excited to bringing a little bit of Paris to New York. It's wonderful.
Tell me how you got cast in this.
Well, it's quite a long story. Do you really want to hear it?
How did Christopher find you?
Well, I've worked with Christopher on and off since I was about 14 years old, and he found out that I used to sing in the choir at school, and I basically got a message from him on Facebook saying, "I heard you used to sing, would you like to audition for me?" And I was like, "Okay, but what for?" And he said, "I'm doing a musical, An American in Paris." And I was like, "Okay, let's give this a go." And I did. I sang for him between a double show of Swan Lake, so I still have my swan makeup on, which wasn't very attractive.
What did you sing? Do you remember?
I sang The Man I Love, which is the song that I sing in the show, and I also read some scenes for him. I'd never seen a script in my life, so yeah, it was quite interesting to suddenly read a script for him. And then turn of events, many auditions later, I ended up in New York, and I read my scenes with Robbie Fairchild, and I danced with him, and that's the end of the story.
You're coming to Broadway debut. What is going through your mind? Is it all surreal?
It's so surreal. I feel like I'm making a movie of someone else's life. It can't be my life. This cannot be my life. It's amazing. I packed up my bags from England last week, and now I'm here, and I'm walking along 42nd Street, and I'm walking up Times Square, and I see our theatre, and I see a cartoon of of myself and Robbie, and it's crazy. It's absolutely wonderful, and I literally pinch myself every day because, I mean, I'm talking to you. I've never spoken on camera before. This whole experience is incredible. I never thought I'd be doing this.
So up to this point, what has been the best part of the experience for you with working on this musical?
Oh, there's been so many. I mean, today we reread some of the scenes that have been, little adjustments by Craig and by Christopher, and I didn't think that this experience, the show, could get any better. And I'm like, yes, it can, because we just read that scene and it's better than it was in Paris. And that's what's so wonderful. Every day there's something special that happens. But I have to say, the experience of the opening night in Paris was wonderful, and I can only imagine that opening night here is going to be mind-blowing, and I can't wait. I can wait because I don't want to wish the time away, but I'm so looking forward to opening night here.
You had your out-of-town tryout in Paris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Surreal? What was that like?
It was like Detroit. No, it was amazing. It doesn't even make sense. Like, why? How are we so lucky to do this? And yet it made perfect sense because of this show and this experience, and they've never had anything like that there. I mean, what Broadway show tries out in Paris? So the whole thing somehow, it was like the most brilliant idea I think anyone could have had, and it was just absolutely the right place for us to do it. Feel like we're there. It was perfect.
Well, I'm sure you could, walk to the theater thinking about scenes you had to do in the show, walking by the places that are in Paris.
Completely, 100%, and we said that all the time. And what's even more magical about Paris, as opposed to New York or something, the places that we are in this musical are still there. You go to a corner, and where it would have been, and it's there. The building is there. I would walk through neighborhoods and try to find a mansion that my family probably would have lived at. We walked through the Montmartre trying to find a cafe that we all probably would have hung out in and practiced my act in, and they're all still there as they were in 1945 when we're telling this story. I mean, that's just crazy. So the research was right there for us. We didn't have to look through picture books and do research online. We just were there, experienced it, and it's so great because when you're on stage and you don't have everything around you, but you still, when you look out in the audience or look at the back of the stage, it's so helpful to see a building or to see the interior of a room as opposed to completely making it up in your head, which you should do. But we didn't have to do that. It was all around us. Now we just kind of draw on that. Yeah.
Talk about the role that you play.
Oh my God, it's great. His name's Henri Borel. He's this one of the only French characters in the show, and he's, it's slightly different from the movie, but now he's the only son of a very wealthy family. He's supposed to take over the family business, but he desperately wants to be a performer. Where like in the film, he was a performer. He's a successful performer, but in our production, that's what he wants to do. So it creates a little bit more interest and conflict for my character because I'm supposed to take over the family business. I'm in love with this girl. We're supposed to get married. But I also desperately want to move to America and become this performer. So it creates a lot of interest in the story and conflict with the other characters who are also in love with the leading girl. And kind of, I think a lot of people know what's going to happen. The other boy gets the girl, but you're not sure, and it becomes this tangled web. A little bit more, the stakes are raised even a bit more than in the film, which helps our stage version a little more. Yeah.
First of all, welcome back. The last time I saw you was we had dinner 2 nights before you were leaving for Paris.
Yes, with Betty Buckley. So using the B, bonjour.
What was it like working on this show in Paris?
It was. I ate a lot of crepes. But anyway, outside of that, it was a beautiful experience, and I think that we as a company really held ourselves in high esteem and responsibility in Paris, and I think the Parisians fell in love with us as Americans. Our talent, our commitment to the piece, our love of Paris. I mean, you cannot imagine. We did Paris, up and down and around and inside and out, and we made the Parisians, every night they stood on their feet, and 5 curtain calls, 5 balconies up. I've never experienced anything like it. Yeah, they really. So I think that people who get up and leave to go to their taxis before the curtain call, are going to have to live up to some standards that we got over in Paris.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to have lots of standing ovations at the Palace. Tell me what it's been like working on this role. Who do you play?
I play Madame Borel, who is Henri Borel's mother. She doesn't exist in the movie, but now Madame and Monsieur and Henri Borel, as a family, take care of Lise during the war. And so I think the cast is filled with young and vibrant and beautiful people, and they needed a little wisdom and age to balance things out, and that would fall on me. But she is a character who doesn't bounce back as quickly as the young people who are after the war. Young people bounce back quickly because they're passionate about living again, and Madame Borel doesn't bounce back so quickly because she's lived through 2 wars, the First World War and the Second World War. So there's a lot of, she brings a lot of wisdom and gravitas and depth to, and struggle to live again. It's harder for old people to, yeah.
And living in this Gershwin world, directed and choreographed by Christopher Wheeldon.
Well, I think Gershwin's music was the seed, the gorgeous seed of fruitfulness. And I think, the American in Paris Ballet was written in 1928, almost 100 years ago. And it lives and breathes a new life into our world that we're living in today. And Chris has added, on top of Gershwin's beautiful music, this gorgeous storytelling ballet that has as many words as Shakespeare and Chekhov. I mean, I can't tell you the storytelling that he has created with Gershwin's music and with his choreography. It is stunning, stunning.
Tell me how exciting it's been working on this musical.
I mean, I can't. It's been so exciting. I mean, I sort of feel like I'm waking up from this weird dream every day when I go home, because it's so hard to process how awesome this is. But it's just been a dream. The whole thing, going to Paris with a group of people that I love unconditionally and that I respect, to be able to do a piece that you feel so passionately about with people that you love so deeply is so rare that the excitement is almost too much to bear. You know what I mean?
Who do you play? Talk about the role.
I play Adam Hochberg. He was played by went by a different last name, but he was played by Oscar Levant in the movie. And in our version, he is a composer, a Jewish-American composer, who also was fighting in the war, because in our version, the war is sort of a very major presence in the backdrop of our story. And he's sort of dealing with what the war meant, what fighting meant. He's dealing with an injury that I think is a bit shameful and difficult to deal with. And he composes sort of much of the music that appears in the show, either as part of the storytelling or within the story itself. And so, because of that, he's sort of inspired a lot by George Gershwin himself. There are hints of him within the piece, which I think is a really cool meta storytelling device that I am sort of honored and a little intimidated to play, but it's so fun because I really get to sink my teeth into something.
Look at your book writer, Craig Lucas.
I mean, he's a genius. He's brilliant. The way that he uses words is sort of remarkable, and especially in our story, even though it's unique and fresh and new, it takes you back in time. You feel in the dialogue and in the words that were back in the 1940s. He's a genius.
And living in the world created by your director and choreographer, Chris Wheeldon.
Another genius.
Lots of geniuses in this.
No, lots of, God, it's got to be humble about that. But the world is this sort of beautiful culmination of light and dark. It's when people think of American in Paris, they think of this frivolous, fun dance show, kind of spectacular thing, which we've got. but Chris and Craig, too, have both been so wonderful and so smart in using the contrast and the darkness of the war and of unrequited love, sort of these darker tones, to highlight those lighter moments, because it really is about a city and a group of people healing from a very painful, deep wound. And this world sort of balances itself out in that way, and it sort of takes the audience on a fun ride.
I am so excited. Tell me what it's been like working on this musical.
Oh, it's so exciting. It's so exciting to bring something that maybe feels a little old or a little dated and bring it to give it new life, a new interpretation. Being in the room watching all of this amazing dancing, I don't know, I feel like pretty lucky.
Tell me what it's been like. You rehearsed in Paris. I mean, who gets to do that? I mean, normally in a rehearsal room, you see pictures of, the Eiffel Tower, a French dancer. You went there.
I know, and I think it really helped. It was very informative, especially playing an American, going to Paris, and sort of feeling out of your element and lost. Got lost a lot, but at some point you just sort of surrender and you decide to wander and you just fall in love with it. It was amazing. Who gets to do an out-of-town in Paris?
An out-of-town tryout in Paris where you had like 6 standing ovations in like foul balconies every night, right?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. The Theatre du Chatelet is so beautiful, and to see all those people jumping up on their feet every night. The reception was so warm and so kind, especially arriving not knowing yet what we had and what it was going to be. And I'll never forget that first audience. It was just like a shot of vitamin B. It was wonderful.
Talk about who you play and who she is to you.
I play Milo Davenport, who's a young, rich heiress who arrives in Paris just after the end of World War II. And she's got a lot of money and a lot of energy. And she's a fast talker. And she decides to put money not only into art, but also into the ballet there in Paris. And sort of kicks off the story that brings this group of people together and keeps them together.
Okay, talk about the Gershwin score you get to sing.
It's wonderful. Just wonderful. It's Gershwin. What else can you say? It like fills up your whole heart and makes it feel like it wants to explode a little bit. It's so moving and it's passionate. It's sweet. And it really, what Rob Fisher's done with the music, and I can't wait for you to hear it.
What was the first song you learned for the show?
The first song I learned was actually Soon, which is no longer a part of our story. When we arrived back in New York, Chris Wheeldon called me and he said, "We got a new idea." So out went Soon and in came Shall We Dance.
What a great replacement.
I mean, could you really go wrong? One Gershwin for another Gershwin is not such a bad idea. So, we've been just working on it every day since we started here, and because you got to get it as comfortable as everything else feels. So it's coming along. I like it.
Working with Christopher Wheeldon, what that's been like working with him as a director and a choreographer?
It's been amazing to watch his transformation into a director. And I'm sort of in awe, knowing that he's never studied it, but yet he speaks the same language that an actor speaks. He's an amazing storyteller, and he's really combined those worlds of singing, acting, dancing, all into one, and made them feel equally important, which, you risk those other things falling away because he is a choreographer, but he's really stepped up to the plate. And
if you could sum up the best part of the experience so far with working on this musical, what's it been for you, Jill?
I think getting to take An American in Paris to Paris was beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and I think it made us a stronger company and changed my life. It was amazing.
Okay, you're getting ready to make your Broadway debut. Tell me what's going through your mind.
Excitement, elation. I don't know. I'm ready. I'm thrilled to get to be included with the cast and the crew for this show, and to get to sing Gershwin and dance to Chris Wheeldon choreography every night is just a dream. It's like golden, nuggets that I get to partake in. So,
well, tell me what it's been like living in this Gershwin world. I mean, there's nothing like it, is there?
No, there isn't, and it's exciting because at the New York City Ballet, we have a ballet called Who Cares? And the guy dances to a bunch of Gershwin songs with a bunch of different girls. And the opportunity to get to dance to some of those same songs here feels like there's some history in there, and that this is not the first time hearing this music and dancing to it. It's a different steps, it's different ideas and choreography, but to get to have that kind of history with the music has been really special. It feels like home. There's something in me the first day of rehearsal. I know this music, and I feel like everybody kind of has that. There's something about Gershwin. You can kind of tap into any human heart and find a little rhythm.
Yeah. And living in Christopher's world, having him as your director choreographer, what that's been like working with him.
To have had the opportunities to work with him in the ballet world and to come in here and see him doing what he's doing is so inspiring. We're both doing this together in our first foray into the Broadway world, and we've grown so close in admiration and respect, and as friends and as colleagues in a sense. So it's a huge treat to get to be directed by him and to be under his wing. He's got an incredible eye, and I feel like I'm in really good hands.
Talk about this iconic role you have.
Gene Kelly is and will always be my inspiration. There's something about the dynamics of his movement, his charisma, his likability. You just fall in love with him, and he was the reason why I wanted to become a professional dancer. So to get the opportunity to be the next in line after him to play Jerry Mulligan, I get the chills just thinking about it. So it's a treat.
So what's it been like taking on a stage role? Talk about Jerry. Talk about the role.
I've loved getting to dive into storytelling. I feel like one of my greatest strengths as a dancer is to tell a story. And to get to tell this story in a new way for me is such a treat. And I love the work. I love getting to come in here and explore and dive into why, how, why would I do this, and really make it a lot of sense for me and a lot of sense for the people watching. As an artist, it's been an incredible journey.
Because you as a dancer are brilliant at how you tell a story through your body and movement and your facial expressions, and now you get to open your mouth and say words and sing.
I know, I'm so excited. It's felt like there's been something bubbling up, and now to get to realize that those bubbles was this Broadway dream is so cool, and to get to actually have the opportunity to make that happen.
So do we see a new Broadway song and dance man in you?
Hey, I would love that. Come on, that's incredible.
Let's talk about this one. How did this all happen for you, Rob?
I've had an even longer history than anybody because people have been trying to get this property to find a way to the stage for a long time. And I did some readings and workshops with a Wendy Wasserstein script in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then it kind of got quiet again. And then Stuart really was the impetus to bring all of us together and really give it the best shot ever. And reinvent, keep what was good and reinvent moving forward.
So what has it been like working with this team, taking the show to Paris? I mean, that must have been so exciting.
Going to Paris is unbelievable, and it could not, who knew how Paris would react to Americans showing up with a musical about their city, and they went crazy for it. I've done several projects with Chris Wheeldon, and I love him to death. He's unbelievably creative and he's invented himself. Just the way George Gershwin invented himself in terms of music, Chris really has in terms of storytelling with dance and creating movement to tell a story. So it's been a very close collaboration to create a score to support the story that he and Craig are telling. I don't know of another experience that's even remotely like it.
But I love the combination of all the music, of where it's all from for the musical.
Because we knew it would be dance-driven and we'd need some serious music to dance to, Gershwin has this whole trove. And so Chris and I listened to all the concert music and just which seems to inspire choreography more. And we ended up with the movement of the concerto, some of the Second Rhapsody, some of the Cuban Overture, and of course American Paris Ballet.
So what's been the best part for you so far with working on this musical?
Let's see, probably the baguettes when we were in Paris, and the butter. They have the best butter.
So how are you going to top that here at the Palace?
I don't have a way yet. I'm looking for suggestions.
We'll look for a French bistro to send you stuff over there.
Please.
This is one of my favorite MGM films. What has it been like for you, Craig, working on this musical?
You know, I didn't think it would be useful to think about the movie because it exists and there's no reason to try to recreate it. I don't understand that. It will be around when we're all moldering in our graves. So I was only interested in what we could take from the narrative that we might be able to shine a light on with what we now know in 2015, and what a great choreographer could do with that material to integrate dance from the moment the story begins to the moment it ends. The movie is famous for ending in a ballet, but I was interested in a piece where dance was integrated all the way through the piece. I have one stray hair and it's trying to make me sneeze.
I love your mustache and your beard. I love that.
I'm just starting to train it. The wax thing is very tiresome.
It's a good-looking beard and mustache.
Thank you very much.
So is that what unlocked it for you with the journey that you're on with the book?
Yes, it was working with Chris, and what dance can do, which is very hard to do with dialogue, is create a visceral sense of emotional content that doesn't necessarily have simple words to put to it. It's more like painting. It's much more like music. It's not that it's abstract, it's gestural. Very hard to do that with words. But he helped me understand how we could use that in a painterly fashion, so I didn't have to do a lot of exposition. You could show a few seconds of dance and understand, oh, this is a city that's reeling from having been occupied. This is a people who are absolutely heartbroken and crushed, and then start. And I didn't have to do, with Shakespeare, somebody has to come out and go, oh, for a muse of fire, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have to do that.
Yeah. And what was it like taking this to Paris? What was it like for you working on it over there and watching the audience react to the musical?
I was very nervous because we didn't shy away from questions of collaborators and the occupation, and I was nervous because the last time I was in Paris, which was 20 years ago, wasn't the same city. Paris has changed drastically, and it is now, for reasons I don't quite understand, very welcoming. At least it was for us. And their desire to see this piece and to embrace it really surprised me. I'm used to flops, so it was very nice.
What's been the best part of the experience for you, Craig, so far with working on this musical?
Everyone working on it, from the producers on, have been fabulous, but for me the dream come true has been working with Wheeldon. I just admire him boundlessly, and I have just been more besotted with him now than I was when we started.
I am so excited. I was telling you, this is one of my all-time favorite films. I love this project and everybody you put together for this. How excited are you to be bringing this musical to Broadway?
Well, American in Paris is an iconic film, and to have a chance to take a piece of material that, as you say, we love, you love, people love, but also to be given the freedom to reconceive the material, to be inspired by it in a new way, so that we didn't just want to put the movie on stage. We wanted to find a fresh, exciting way for Broadway to experience it in a way they never have before.
And working with Christopher Wheeldon.
Well, I mean, the man's a genius, and he embraced this material like no one else, and has put together a cast of the world-class performers. They can act, and they can dance, and they can sing. It's going to be glorious.
Roy, for you.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that you've noticed on the Broadway scene over the past seasons is a lack of willingness by audiences to embrace the old. They're looking for something different, and it is, I think, from the three of us, very exciting to be doing something that's bold. It's brave, it's bold, it's exciting. The end result we think is wonderful. Audiences will confirm it for us, but it's a thrilling project to know that you are going to be presenting something that is a fresh take, that is fresh for a Broadway musical. So that excites me greatly, and all of us, I think, greatly.
What I love is you've combined the best of the Broadway world with the dance world and brought that all together, which I cannot wait. Of course, with your creative team also, with the sets and the lighting and the projections.
The whole physical production is choreographed. So the design, which is beautiful, the actors move most of it. So you'll see Christopher's choreography not only in dances, but in the entire movement of the show. So yes.
My final question is, what was the best part of watching the audience in Paris fall in love with this musical?
Well, I mean, there's such beauty on stage, and to see the audience embrace things that we've seen early on, and then to see it in real life, the melding of the scenery and the projections and all of the movement come together and have it accepted so well.
I'd even add one thing to that, which is that for the French audiences, they felt we took their story seriously. They felt that this was a heartfelt, empathetic view of the struggle they faced in 1945 as they tried to rebuild their country. And they even took some of the hard parts, because we expose some of the trouble spots at that moment. Besides, everybody isn't heroic all the time, and they embraced it all. And we thought that was very beautiful and very moving.
And Roy, for you?
I think the ovations every night. We're used to the obligatory standing, ovation in New York, where they stand and run out the aisle to get to their cars or buses or subways. But in this instance, we got 5 or 6 standing ovations at night, and you could feel how much they loved it. And also, as the steward said, we honored them. We honored the French in doing it, which was part of the goal, and we reached them. So it gave us great feeling of satisfaction.